Respect. It's something I feel has been lost, especially now. And I'm not talking about the kind of respect that you get from earning 10 million subscribers. I mean, the kind of respect that doesn't need a trophy. That quiet acknowledgement that shows up when no one's watching. Whispers in your ear, hey, I see you. You're human. And that matters. And if that everyday respect vanishes, everything from global conflict to cruel rhetoric follows. Respect isn't a slogan. It's a ledger of small choices that you make every day. How you answer a text, whether you let someone finish, whether you correct someone gently or weaponize coercion into humiliation. Those tiny entries add up. They either build a culture that notices people, or they erode it until noticing becomes rare and violence becomes thinkable. Consider war as an example. The shortcut to more suffering. The sequel nobody asked for with worse graphics and a higher body count. Deterrents can flex like 500 Metal Gears, humming ominously while aiming their giant ray guns directly at your head to a Hans Zimmer soundtrack. But once missiles fly, boots hit the ground, hashtags become obituaries, there's no undo button. The people caught in the crossfire just wanted to live, love, and perhaps finish their coffee without worrying if they're going to get blown up by a nuke. When conflict becomes normal, it's because we've forgotten the humanity of each individual. And forgetting that begins the moment we stop seeing each other as human. And it's not just us that dehumanize. Bombs can do it too. It's the labels we slap on each other. The people in Gaza aren't just Palestinians. The people in Tel Aviv aren't just Israelis. They're moms, dads, kids, artists, dreamers, survivors. Reduce them to slogans or stereotypes, and you strip away the dignity that keeps the respect alive. Once we praise or condemn whole populations, living hearts become talking points, and respect slips through our fingers. Dehumanization also happens in quieter places. The comment thread where someone's pain becomes a punchline. The late night monologue that turns a person into a caricature. The classroom where a student is dismissed as that type. These are small violences that prepare society to accept larger ones. Respect is like a firewall in your computer. Lose the firewall, guess what? You get a virus. And that is what violence is. So, how do we rebuild what's been broken? We cultivate everyday rituals of restoration, small acts that whisper back the humanity we lost. Faith must be modeled, not wielded. Belief shouldn't be a hall pass for being a jerk. And conviction must never cross into coercion. The moment it becomes, believe what I tell you or else, we trade respect for a superiority complex bigger than Ido and his grandma. True devotion itself shows in kindness, in letting others find their own path, in living your principles rather than weaponizing them. Let me be blunt. The believe in Jesus or go to hell rhetoric is not respect. It's legally a hate crime in 15 states and coercion dressed up as salvation. It shames doubt, punishes curiosity, and turns belief into a threat. That's not love. That's control. Call it for what it is. Hate disguised as love. It gaslights people into compliance by making moral worth conditional on agreement. That tactic shows up in churches, in comment threads, and yes, even workplaces. I've seen it at work myself. My boss, Carlene, uses the same move. Do it my way or you're wrong. That's gaslighting. That's not leadership. That's emotional coercion. And when somebody weaponizes faith or ideology to shame or control, it erases the person in front of them. Respect means letting someone wrestle with their own questions without turning their doubt into a moral failing. Modeling faith looks like this. You show up to help, not to score points. You listen to someone whose beliefs differ, and you don't treat them as a project. You let your values be visible in how you treat people, not how loudly you proclaim them. That's respect in motion. We also have to call out cruel rhetoric without amplifying it. There are channels and personalities who punch down at vulnerable people and turn them into punchlines. Legal rights put aside, these words aren't righteous. Some folks double down on dogma until the mirror cracks. Persistence isn't proof. It's often stubbornness masquerading as principle. Point out the harm, show the consequence, and pivot to what actually helps. Expose cruelty and immediately show alternatives. Creators who uplift, communities that repair, conversations that teach. Don't leave people stuck in outrage. They give them a path forward. We fight back. Not with silence, but by building spaces that uplift instead of tear down. By modeling respect for every voice, not just the ones that we agree with. That means moderating with intention, evaluating marginalized voices, and paying people for the labor of just being visible. That means designing spaces where repair is possible, where mistakes can be acknowledged, harm can be addressed, and people can return to their lives without worrying if they're going to get kicked out. If you've been hurt, really hurt, telling your story matters. Silence buries truth. You can rage, grieve, scream into the void, just don't let that void become your home. Hate is a parasite that feeds on pain and whispers vengeance is clarity. But you're here to become the myth, not the monster. Transform betrayal into a beacon, bitterness into a map for someone lost in the fog. If you tell your story, shape it so that it heals instead of weaponizes. Say what happened. Name the harm. Say what you need to be seen or be made whole. Ask, listen, amplify, show up. These are the structures that protect the teller and helps the listener respond without turning pain into a spectacle. All these right of restoration leads us to a vow. What will the next generation see when they look back? Courage or cowardice? I believe in people. I believe in our ability to rise above hate. I believe that we can choose the high road even when it's lonely. Because respect really isn't about who deserves it. It's about who refuses to let hate win. Respect is something that asks you every day. It asks you to slow down. The world tells you to speed up. It asks you the name of the person instead of a label. It asks you to correct with care instead of glancing with glee. It asks you to credit the work, to return a call, to hold a door, to correct a misgendering if you're, one of the guys that live in the UK, because apparently that's the thing now. To say someone's name out loud when you're in a room just wants to be noticed. These tiny little details cost nothing, and they can rebuild almost everything. When coercion shows up at work, like Carlene uses belief or ideology or control, you don't have to accept it. That's abuse. Document the comments, trust a colleague. It's so easy to call someone an asshole or a freak. But are we really doing that to ourselves? It can feel impossible to treat somebody with respect when they hide behind channels like religion or their disability to excuse cruelty. I don't give a fuck what the color of your skin is, your religious background, what country you are from. You still at least need to attempt to try to treat people with respect. Even if you want to boil it down to basic common human decency. So here's a simple stubborn challenge. Today, replace one label with a name. Just say it. Instead of labeling somebody, just say that person's specific name. A day at a time. Not because it feels great, not because they deserve it, but because humanity can do better. Do one thing in the next 24 hours that restores dignity. Not for likes, not for applause, but because respect is not a soft option. It's a daily discipline to ask you to be present. Even in the small ways. To choose dignity over cruelty. It asks you to be the person who whispers, I see you, even when no one else is watching. That's the kind of respect humanity truly deserves.